Once upon a time, in a beautiful but distant land that we now call China, there lived a little boy named Tao. He lived in a charming fishing village with his mother, who unfortunately had been sick for some time and her condition was worsening with each passing day. She urgently needed a special medicine to recover. Unfortunately, there was no such medicine in the village where they lived, and no one even knew where such a medicine could be found. Tao decided that he had to leave his beloved village to find the medicine that would save his mother. However, he knew that this meant he had to embark on a long and dangerous journey through unknown lands. Tao's mother had told him many times about the incredible stories of various dangerous and mysterious creatures and strange plants that inhabited those places. She warned him not to venture into those areas because it could mean not coming back. The boy was scared, but it couldn't stop him. He decided to use the knowledge that his mother had given him and prepare for the dangers that could befall him. Boy took a large bag of food, a strong rope, a sharp knife, and a delicate-sounding flute on which the boy had learned to play beautifully. He also took a wooden abacus, a small machine that could count better than the wisest human. It was a very valuable treasure that his mother had found once in a wooden chest, in the wreckage of a sunken ship. Tao was a talented boy and could count well, but the machine had the ability to calculate the number of stars in the sky, the number of drops in a pond, the number of thoughts in the mind, and many other things that people could not even imagine, let alone calculate. Tao packed his things, had breakfast, said goodbye to his mother, but before he set out on his journey, he visited an old man who lived on the edge of the village and was known for his wisdom and knowledge. An old man told him that the road to the cure was difficult, but certainly possible to overcome if Tao was persistent, wise, and brave. He thanked him and set out on his journey, taking his little forest dragon as his companion, who lived with him, always watching over him and helping him in difficult situations. The boy passed through the village and headed towards the distant, misty mountains, and after some time, the village disappeared from view, and little Tao was farther from home than ever before. Then, a great, horned toad named Nian appeared in his path, who lived in a pond nearby. Nian was angry, cruel, and notorious for attacking the surrounding village, its inhabitants, and destroying their property from time to time. Then, Boy took out his counting machine, pressed a special button, and the machine quickly calculated how many steps were to the nearest bamboo forest, in which direction to go, and how long a bamboo stick to take. Tao did exactly what the machine told him to do. He ran to the bamboo forest, cut the appropriate bamboo stick with his sharp knife, and then returned to where the toad was standing. He then lit the end of the stick, making it a torch, and began waving it and shouting loudly while his little dragon flew menacingly around the toad, spewing flames from its mouth. Upon seeing this, the toad Nian became frightened and fled far away. Now the villagers were safe, and Tao and his little dragon could continue their journey. Hours passed, the boy and the dragon passed through dense forests, rushing rivers, numerous villages and cities, and on their long journey, they met many interesting people who gave them advice and help. In the great palace on the flower-covered mountain, they met a monkey named Shen. Shen was a martial arts master, and when he heard about the boy's journey, he immediately offered to teach him what he knew so that he could defend himself against enemies. "But I don't fight and I don't use violence," Tao said. "It's not about fighting and hurting others," Shen replied. "It's about being safe and using what I teach you only for defense and to save loved ones, friends, and people in need." Boy understood the lesson Shen gave him and agreed to continue his education in the palace, during which he will learn everything about the art of self-defense and helping others. That's what they did, and Tao spent many days learning from the master. The master taught him patience, concentration, meditation, and defensive fighting skills. Tao turned out to be a talented student, quickly gaining knowledge, and the master noticed his potential that could help him overcome future obstacles on his journey. One day, Tao felt ready, said goodbye to the master, and continued his journey with his small dragon. They passed fields full of rice, grand castles, and impenetrable jungles, all bringing them closer to their destination. Soon, they encountered a group of friendly monks from a nearby temple who offered the boy consecrated amulets to protect him during his travels. The boy thanked them, and the dragon joyfully soared into the air, looping over the heads of the monks. Then one of the monks said, "Be careful, young man. The amulet, fighting skills, dragon, and backpack with supplies will help you, but you must not forget that there is still a long and dangerous journey ahead. You have not yet reached your destination, and you cannot underestimate what lies ahead. Before you are high mountains, deep lakes full of dangerous creatures, and dark forests filled with evil spirits." Tao nodded, looked ahead, and set out on his journey into the misty mountains, hoping to find a cure for his mother there. The boy and his dragon traveled for many days and nights, traversing difficult paths and climbing steep slopes. They examined the plants they encountered using their device, but none of them could cure his mother's illness. Finally, after many days of wandering, Tao arrived at a small village where an old healer lived. He knew about herbs and medicines that helped with various ailments. Tao told him about his mother and asked for help in finding the right medicine. The old sage conducted many magical and scientific studies and finally found the right plant that could help cure Tao's sick mother. Unfortunately, this plant grew only in a very difficult-to-reach place where dangerous animals and monsters lived. Boy knew, however, that this would not discourage him, and no matter what, he had to get this plant to save his mother. So he set out on his journey, and after a few hours they arrived in a strange land where in a great jungle, intersected by rushing rivers, in the very center was a magical mountain and on its top was a small castle. Tao checked if he had everything he needed: a rope, a hook, and a sharp knife, and the dragon checked if he could breathe fire in the humid air of the tropical jungle, just like before. Armed with the right tools and courage, they set out for the ultimate goal of the expedition. When they entered the jungle, a giant panda appeared on their path, who said she would not let them pass any further. "But why?" Boy asked, and the panda stood up on its hind legs and looked at them menacingly. "Because this is our magical kingdom, and we, the magical creatures, don't want mortals coming here and disturbing our peace. We also won't give up our treasures," the panda added greedily. Then she roared loudly and charged at the boy and the dragon with her claws. That's when Tao pulled out a flute from his bag and played a melody so beautiful and sad that the panda stopped in her tracks and began to cry, forgetting about the boy and the dragon. Boy and the little dragon then bypassed her and continued on their journey until they came across a big, rushing river guarded by a giant fish with sharp teeth. That's when the little dragon took to the air and flew to the other side of the river, and the angry fish quickly swam after him. This was exactly what Tao was waiting for, and he quickly jumped into the water and swam to the other side before the fish could realize what had happened. By the time the fish realized what had happened, the boy and the dragon were already far away from her. Now they were walking through the darkest part of the jungle, and evil spirits were constantly flying out from behind the trees. However, the power of the amulet scared them away, so they couldn't harm the boy or the dragon. Suddenly, the dense jungle ended, and a huge mountain with a small castle on the top appeared before their eyes. Then Tao remembered the words of the old sage from the village who told him that it would be best to use a hook and rope to climb up and bypass the path carved into the rock, because it only appears to be good. In reality, there are dangerous traps there that can stop them in their tracks and never let them go. Boy attached the hook to the rope, and the dragon took the hook and flew to the top of the mountain, attaching it between the rocks. Little Tao climbed up the rope and joined the dragon. At that moment, the mist descended, and a castle appeared before their eyes, guarded by a menacing warrior. The warrior shouted something in a language that was incomprehensible to the boy, then charged at them with a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. The little dragon flew up to him, opened his mouth and breathed fire directly onto the warrior's shield, burning it to ashes. At the same time, with one agile leap, Tao jumped up and landed behind the warrior, knocking the sword out of his hand. The warrior growled menacingly and started attacking the boy with his fists, but little Tao, taught by his master, dodged the blows by leaning to the left and then to the right. When the warrior got tired and weakened, Tao tied him up, and together with the dragon, they entered the castle. Then their eyes were greeted by a beautiful, rainbow-colored flower that was growing in the middle of the grand hall. "This is our medicine!" Tao shouted with joy, then ran to the flower, picked it, and put it in his bag. "Let's go back," he said happily, and the dragon nodded in approval. After leaving the castle, the boy and the dragon set off on their journey back, passing through all the places they had previously visited. The journey was long and exhausting, but after some time, they returned to their hometown. Then, Little Tao planted the miraculous flower in the garden behind his house, and gave its petals to his sick mother, who immediately recovered. Tao and the dragon became respected and admired citizens of the village, and when the boy grew up, he became the leader of his village with his dragon as his assistant. His rule was wise and full of kindness. And over time, the life of him and his faithful dragon became a legend. The miraculous flower, meanwhile, grew happily in the garden, and every day its petals were sent by Tao to the farthest corners of the world so that everyone could have access to this miraculous medicine and live long and happy lives.